Hi everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Burning Questions with Viterbi. My name is Shito Madani.
I'm Jacob Tony.
And we're here with Dr. Malmstadt, who's a professor in the Chemical Engineering Department here at USC.
Hi, I'm Noah Malmstadt.
Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to be talking a lot about chemical engineering. Jacob and I are both chemical engineers, and in our time we found that as a major it tends to be a little mystifying, so we're just going to try and debunk some of the common myths we've heard. So, just to start us off, so every time we ask a question before you answer, we are going to be eating one of these very spicy chicken nuggets. It's kind of a play on Hot Ones if you're familiar with that. If not, check out our previous video with Paul Ledesma. But to get us started, myth number 1, is it true that chemical engineers only do chemistry? And before you answer, we all have to eat a nugget. I'm really hoping these are spicy.
So I eat before. So we're eating on camera.
Yes.
We know we know about misophonia, right? Have you heard of that?
No.
No, there are people who have an aversion or phobia to hearing people eat on the radio or on camera.
I thought it was the opposite. Isn't that a popular YouTube sensation?
That's ASMR.
We have one of those videos too.
It's not bad.
Okay. All right. So should I give my answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
In ASMR.
Oh, that'd be
ASMR version. I'm trying to remember the question.
Sorry. Okay, no, we'll change it up. So we'll take a nugget and then I'll ask a question.
Okay, all right.
That's fine. So just to start, is it true that chemical engineers only do chemistry?
No, chemical engineers also do, they do fluid mechanics and heat and mass transfer, and in terms of what chemical engineers wind up doing for careers, it's a broad spread. A chemical engineering degree gives you, it equips you with a lot of tools to do a lot of different stuff. So people go into things like microelectronics processing, or pharmaceutical formulation, or law, or medicine, or consulting. So it's, I would say that as an engineering major, it equips you to do all sorts of stuff. The chemists would tell you that no chemical engineers do chemistry.
That's a good point. So in terms of classes, what's your favorite class to teach here at USC?
Well,
Sorry, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
Jacob, do I keep handing you these? Or? Okay.
All right.
It's building up a little bit.
So I've enjoyed a couple classes a lot. There's one class that I actually developed, like it didn't exist before I made it, and that was Chem 205, which was a numerical methods and computational methods class. But the class I probably enjoy most is the class I've taught the longest, which is separations. And I actually like that because I've taught it the longest, because my favorite part of teaching is the incremental improvement that you develop by interacting with the students. Like I learn a lot about how to teach by talking to students, by interacting with students. And the way that I teach has changed radically since my early years teaching this class. And the thing that I like about that is it comes from the interpersonal relationships. Yeah, I learn how to teach by interacting with the students, and that's very fulfilling.
All right, let's go.
Nugget.
Yeah.
And then, is it true that all chemical engineers only go on to work in industry, or is it
a
a
myth?
bit more broad? Yeah, is that a myth?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Of course, your profession.
yeah, so obviously, I'm a chemical engineer who doesn't work in industry. There are a few academic chemical engineers, right? Most of us. Ooh, okay, now it's safe to say.
All right, good stuff.
Oh yeah, I just broke a sweat.
It's the lingering taste.
Yeah.
This is like, it doesn't hit you straight away, but it kind of...
Yeah.
just kind of-
So I'm not sure what you mean by industry. Do you mean like strictly the chemicals industry, or the petrochemicals industry? Because
Yeah.
if you're just talking about those, then no way. Like chemical engineers are going to work in all sorts of fields. But as I said earlier, you see a lot of chemical engineers going into professions. I know a lot of chemical engineers who became intellectual property lawyers, for instance. some just bum around and surf all day, I'm sure.
That would be kind of nice.
But no, I know chemical engineers who have gone into, computer science, like software engineering jobs. It's all over the place.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of chemical engineers like yourself go into academia. So after we have our next nugget, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how you got into research, what kind of research you work on, that kind of thing.
You always wanted to pursue academia.
Yeah, all right, let's go.
All right, after you.
I'm still not really feeling it.
Showing off.
I don't know. I always did think I was born for hot ones, I will say.
Yeah, so how do I get in academia? I didn't know for sure that I wanted to go in academia, but I knew that I wanted a PhD. I knew that I was very interested in PhD level research, and in having the qualifications of a PhD researcher. I wanted to get to the point where I could lead research in a lab, where it could be my own research and my own ideas that were being implemented in the lab. And whether you're the lead of a research team in a company, or a professor in a university, or a group leader in a national lab. I mean, I knew that I wanted to do research, and I wanted to be able to be in a leadership position where I was the one directing things. And you don't need a PhD for that, but it really helps to have a PhD for that, right? So I entertained a couple job offers after my senior year of college, but ultimately I decided that I wanted to go straight into a PhD program, and I actually wound up pursuing a PhD in bioengineering. A lot of chemical engineers are wind up in bioengineering programs. It's another thing. So that's another lateral move you can make from chemical engineering. Bioengineering is a big one for chemical engineers to move into.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you did some undergraduate research in your time then?
Yeah. So my undergraduate research, I was at Caltech, and I actually had the kind of unique opportunity to work in the lab of Frances Arnold, who won the Nobel Prize 2 years ago.
Wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, I got to work in her lab. I worked with a graduate student named Weimin Zhao, who is now a professor at the University of Illinois, and he does amazing work. Yeah, so I started off with research right away, and I love the interaction in the lab. I love going to group meetings. Like I love seeing people discuss science and raise these scientific questions. I kind of imagined, at that point, I kind of imagined that as a professor, what will our group meetings look like? What will our conversations look like? I still don't have an idea. I will get them. I will get them to be my ideal group meetings. But so yeah, and that exposure kind of drove me to wanting to be in grad school and to continue to be in that kind of environment. And then ultimately, the decision to pursue an academic job. In terms of the freedom to pursue research you're interested in, I mean, in a lot of ways, academic research is the ultimate for that. You have a lot of independence to pursue things you're interested in, so long as you have the skill to get the money.
Was it bioengineering research you were doing in undergrad?
So Professor Arnold directed evolution. She invented a way to get bacteria to make things using evolutionary techniques. So you basically get them to evolve to produce the molecule that you want them to produce.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, won a Nobel Prize.
I guess that's true. Okay, also we've asked a lot of questions without eating any nuggets, so we're getting back to it, yeah.
That's cheating.
Yeah. Just got very excited.
Oh wow, that was a humble.
Okay, good. Oh my god. This is good. It's not terrible. I'm just saying, it's not super spicy.
It's tasty.
It is good.
It's got a good flavor
nice
to it,
hot
yeah.
sauce, Speaking of your lab here at USC,
Yes.
Do you mostly have graduate students, or do you have undergrads involved like you were during your undergrad years?
Yeah, we keep a good balance. I would say that each graduate student is mentoring one undergrad. Some are mentoring two. I have had graduate students who are very ambitious who mentored 3 or 4. And they did it well, man. Those undergrads wound up on papers.
Amazing.
One of them wound up as a first author on a paper.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the work you do with research. Jacob tells me that you have done some work in industry with a startup, and you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So.
Also, okay, hold on. Nugget first, yes.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of nuggets left.
We're just gonna eat them all at once at the end.
Oh god, maybe should we do 2 at a time now?
I'll do 2.
So one of the innovations I'm most proud of over the past few years,
It's getting a little warm.
Yeah.
working with a PhD student named Krishna Bhargava. I developed a way to. Whew.
Yeah, that was a little. Last one was a little bit. It's getting a little warm in here.
To design and construct microfluidic reactors using basically 3D printed blocks. And each block has a microfluidic function in it. It can mix, it can separate, it can split, some can heat, measure temperature, do spectroscopy, right? And you take each of these blocks and you assemble them together into a unified system.
It's like Legos. Like
So
Legos.
yeah, like Legos. Yeah. So we took this idea and started a company called Reolab. Chris is the CEO. I'm the chief science officer, and I don't do any of the work. He does all the work. But we've been exploring opportunities in medical diagnostics and things like sample prep for high throughput screening.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminded me. I had a question. So what do you think are some of the most exciting developments in chemical engineering research today? We'll have another nugget.
You know, I'm just going to talk about my own stuff.
Well, okay. Maybe we should clarify. Outside of the work you do in your lab and your startup.
Nothing.
Something environmental?
Well, I'll talk about. No,
Just
hold on.
pushing my own biases onto you.
I don't talk about my own stuff. So yeah, I am going to talk about my own work. I'm going to talk about something environmental. So I've been more and more interested in issues of sustainability and environmental remediation and climate change. And we've been working on 2 things recently that kind of impinge on those issues. And the key PhD student in my lab here is named Bu Wong. She's been working on both of these. One is a way to capture carbon dioxide, waste carbon dioxide, and convert it either into fuel stock or
It's really starting to build up.
or hydrocarbons for building more complex chemicals. So it's basically a carbon capture technology.
Oh, wow.
And we use our microfluidic reactors to make a new catalyst that performs the chemistry. It combines hydrogen with carbon dioxide and get a hydrocarbon. So you're both eliminating the carbon dioxide from the flue gas, and you can use renewable energy to make the hydrogen. So you're basically storing the energy from the hydrogen by making the hydrocarbon.
Gotcha. Very
Yeah.
cool.
And the other thing is I'll take one more before.
All right.
Time with the other thing.
That one's a lot of sauce, Jacob.
We've been thinking a lot about the biological impact of nanoplastics and microplastics in the environment. And we've been studying how nanoplastics interact with cell membranes. We just published a paper in Environmental Science Nano,
Oh, wow.
basically demonstrating how different nanoparticles interact with and disrupt cell membranes from different tissues.
That's awesome. Okay, this is a myth we get a lot. We're very passionate about it as chemical engineering students. But Jacob, do you want to do it?
Yeah. The myth is that chemical engineers in general can't have fun. So what would you say regarding
Don't
that?
have time to have fun.
Don't have time, don't know how, etc., etc.
Okay.
Okay.
You can touch your water.
I've been having milk. It's better. It's more soothing. It's science.
Therefore, we don't know how to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, undergraduate chemical engineering is a hard major. There's no denying it. I mean, you guys do work hard. but yeah, of course, just having fun. I mean, I can speak to my own undergraduate experience. I learned how to snowboard when I was like chemical engineering undergrad. I found the time for that. Regular spring break trips to Mexico when I was an undergrad.
I'm going there this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is possible. I will say.
And I've seen you guys have a lot of fun. Like I interacted with y'all at the ASHE meeting this past fall in Orlando, and yeah, that seemed like a great time.
Oh yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much fun they had doing it, but the result was certainly fun.
Are you not drinking your milk? I'm gonna steal it.
The USC Chemical Engineering Jeopardy team won the national title.
Yeah, we did.
That was on that team.
That was awesome. So, I mean, they worked hard, but I think it was a great time for all involved, except for the losers, like MIT.
It's one small school in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
People have heard of.
Okay, so we've made our way through all the questions we really had. So we've come away with chemical engineers don't just do chemistry. They take all kinds of classes. They can do research, they can do startups, they can, oh my god, they can't handle spice apparently. But they can do things like bioengineering and they can have fun. So thank you so much for being here again, Dr. Malmstadt. We
It was
hope
my
you
pleasure.
had fun. That last one's for you.
All right, thank you.
Alright, and thanks for tuning in to Hot Burning Questions with Viterbi. We'll be back soon with another fun interview for you all. Thanks.
Short, no break.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.